Hello everyone, welcome to Tuesday Talks with Abby. In this brand new series, every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Indian Standard Time, we dive into some of the most common and trickiest questions you will face in or have been asked in software and IT industry interviews. I will be picking a question each week, breaking it down, and giving you clear step-by-step explanations so you are more than ready to tackle them in the real world. I will also discuss the follow-up questions based on the main interview question. Whether you are gearing up for your first job interview, switching roles, or just want to brush up your skills, this is the place for you. So make sure to hit that subscribe button and let's get ready to ace those interview questions together. This is going to be the last video of this year, 2024. This question has been asked by Microsoft, and this question is based on data types. The main question is, explain the difference between integer, that is int, BigInt, SmallInt, and tinyInt data types in SQL Server. There was a follow-up question after this question as well. Let's say you have a table storing population of different countries. Which data type would you choose and why? We are going to deep dive into these answer to these questions. We will try to understand the intent of the company. Then we will go and see everything in action in SQL Server Management Studio. So let's go. The intent of the company is the first thing that I wanted to discuss with you. This question is basically asked and has been asked to understand and assess the candidate's understanding on fundamentals of data types. This is very important once you are designing a database table structure. And if you are not good at fundamentals of data types, you may be ending up choosing a data type which is not appropriate. For example, if you have chosen a data type which can hold a small range of data, and going forward, let's say if that is the requirement that needs to store a larger range of data, then there is a problem. Your whole data structure has to be database table structure needs to be changed, which costs a lot. This requires lots of testing efforts, lots of approvals, lots of things behind the scene. So it's very important to understand the fundamental of data type in SQL Server. So this is the objective of the company. They also want to check the knowledge on integer data types. So basically, we have 4 different variations of integer. We have BigInt, SmallInt, Int, and tinyInt. So Microsoft wants to understand these all from the candidate. Let's go and understand the differences. I'm going to segregate the differences based on the factors. Number one is what can be stored. So if you are if you are having very large whole number is no number without decimal places. So obviously you should go for BigInt. A whole number which is not of that large but not that small as well, then you can prefer using int. A small int for smaller whole numbers. And if you have very small numbers, whole numbers, then you should use tinyInt. That's the what can be stored thing. Talking about storage size, if you are taking a variable of BigInt type, it takes 8 bytes in the memory. If you are taking it integer type, it takes 4 bytes in the memory. Likewise, if you have a SmallInt 2 bytes and tinyInt 1 byte, this is the range, which is the third factor. If you are taking the range of BigInt, since it takes 8 bytes in the memory, and as it said in the first point that it is used for storing larger values, right? So you can see here it is almost 9 quintillion value that can be plus minus stored there. Likewise, if you are having comparatively smaller, then if it is 2 billion plus minus, then you have integer type, int type, a small int for 32,768 to 32,767, and tinyInt for a small thing that is 0 to 225. Make sense? Signed and signed. If you can store negative and positive both values in the data type or not, except tinyInt, in all 3 variant, BigInt, int, and a small int, you can store signed values that is negative as well. Make sense? Having said that, these 4 points which I have discussed here quite clarify your concepts on differences between these all 4 data types of integer type. Let's go and see the use cases. We have a little discussed in the previous screen, but if you are dealing with extremely large numbers, especially population or financial calculation, go for BigInt. If you have smaller comparatively like IDs, or something like that, then you can go for int. Small int is for small IDs with limited ranges, like counters and all that you have something. Then you can use a small int, and tiny int for extremely smaller values like flags, zeros, and ones. And you know that they are not going to cross 255 numbers, so you can use tinyInt out there. Make sense? Going to see the performance configuration, storage efficiency, use the smallest data type if you have storage constraint, and if you know that your work can be done taking the smaller data type, so you can use either of the smaller variant like tinyInt or a smallInt. Indexing, if it is a smaller data types, let's say tinyInt and a smallInt, then the indexing performance is significantly good. It's a better, right? Because if it is a smaller data type, then it reduces the size of index pages. So those who know indexing in detail, they know that internally they use pages. So if you have a smaller data type, they use less pages, and then uh, overall performance goes higher. This is better performance in terms of if you're taking a smaller data type. But again, depends on what kind of data that you are going to store. Scalability is that one. If the data can grow, and you know that I'm going to take a field, the data for which may exponentially grow in future. For example, the population of any country that that grows at some rate, right? So you have to be very uh, active on that front. You have to be very choosy on that front. You need that you know that some sort of data that you are going to store which has the nature of growth, then you should use BigInt in place, because then it has a larger limit right there. Okay. The follow-up question is, let's say that you have a table storing the population of different countries. Which data type would you choose for population column, and why? The answer, I think this answer is already known to you now, that you should go and use BigInt. So because this is a nature of data which grows time to time. For that purpose, I mean, it grows regularly. This stores a kind of data which grows regularly. So you should use BigInt data type. Like country population may vary significantly, while int might suffice some purpose, but not for all countries, right? Using large data type like BigInt might seem like overkill for smaller countries, but it provides flexibility and avoids potential data overflow. So if you have taken by chance int of data type, then if the country population grows higher and it cannot fit, so you may see the data overflow issue. That's where you should use BigInt. So the answer is BigInt data type for storing population kind of data. Make sense? Having seen that, we have seen all these points. Let's see all these things in action. So I'm going to take you to the SQL Server Management Studio to show all these one by one. So let's go there. I'm in SQL Server Management Studio, and you see that I have declared 4 variables: val BigInt of BigInt type, val int of int type, int type, a small int of small int type, and val tinyInt is the tinyInt type. These are a couple of pointers that I have written. You know that the BigInt can store 9 plus quintillion data, and if it is int, it may store 2 billion plus minus data. A small int has a range, and tinyInt has also got a range here. What I'm trying to go to store is the population of India right now. At the time this video is being recorded, at the year end of 2024, the population of India has been recorded from the reliable website is this one. So I'm going to store it there, and I'm going to check whether my int can serve that purpose or not, right? So you see that I am storing the same value to val BigInt and val int both. And let's go and print these. See here that the int data type also has been able to store that population of India value here, and so has BigInt. Make sense? Going ahead, and now I am going one step ahead and trying to store the population, world population. So at the time of this video is being recorded, the world population is estimated here. So I'm going to store both in both int and BigInt type variables both. And you know that int has a limitation. It can only hold plus minus 2 billion of data, wherein it is way more than 2 billion. So let's go and see what is happening. How does SQL Server react on this? So see that arithmetic overflow converting expression to data type int. So this is what we were expecting, and I was talking about when you are futuristic about something where the data can grow exponentially, then you should not use any data type. which has lesser ranges. So I'm commenting out these two, and let's go and exit this and see that BigInt variable is able to store world population as well. And going forward, it may store any further details as well, because it has a huge limit, huge and huge. Going for the third example, I'm creating 4 variables, val1, val2, val3, and val4 of BigInt type, int type, SmallInt, and tinyInt type. I'm storing the same 100 values to all these 4 and trying to see how much space they occupy in memory, right? Let's go and execute and then see that BigInt occupies 8 bytes, int occupies 4 bytes, and a SmallInt occupies 2 bytes, and tinyInt occupies 1 byte, which we have seen sometimes back. All 4 integer type data types that I have discussed is pretty much clear to you. And also I have covered one point that if you have a population kind of data, which data type that you are going to select, and that answer was BigInt. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more high quality technical content, drop your question in comments, and I'll be happy to answer them. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.